When you find yourself developing responsive website designs, you'll start to identify some emerging layout patterns. These patterns are defined as discernible regularity. They often occur within a specific discipline. So in this case, the discipline that we're talking about is responsive web design layouts. We're starting to begin to see an emergence of some overall responsive layout patterns, and these patterns seem to fall into the following categories. The first one is single column, and this simply is a single column layout no matter what the screen size is. It's going to work in all sizes. It just is going to increase depending on the size of the screen. So this, albeit is a very simple example, but you can see from a very small mobile width to a wider screen device, the layout works. The downside of this approach is that if the screen gets too wide, sometimes you can lose some of your readability because the lines will expand too far horizontally. So that is a concern when you're just dealing with a one column layout. Obviously the design isn't that interesting either when you're dealing with one column layout. The next one is a multi-column to a single layout. So when you're dealing with a wider screen device, you're going to have some sort of multi-column layout. So right here we have a two-column layout. This could be any number. It doesn't have to be two columns. It could be three or four or whatever. And then at a certain point, as the browser is resized or the device is resized, it's going to switch to that single column layout. The third example is the column drop, and the column drop works kind of like this. So once again, we start off and we have a multi-column layout, and some components are going to drop before they shift into that single column layout. So here is our layout. It's essentially a three-column layout in this particular example, and as my screen gets more narrow, you can see that it switches to a two-column layout. So this first article over here is going to then appear above article 2 in the same column, if you will, and then at some point it's going to switch to the single column layout. This could be a three-column going to a two-column, or in the case we have now, a three-column eventually going to a one-column, but it has that intermediate sort of layout that's going to occur. So there's a variation that occurs as the screen is resized. And then the final example that we're going to look at is something that I call the layout shifter. And the layout shifter is a multi-column layout that has different layouts on large, medium, and small screens. So here is the layout for the large screen, really similar to what we saw in the last example, but as we start to resize the browser window down, you can see that we're getting a completely different type of layout, and as we continue to go down, it switches again, and then we'll continue to go down, and then finally it goes to the one screen. So there's more steps in the layout shifter. It really does rearrange and shift, if you will, as the page is resized. So just being able to identify those patterns will help you to be able to come up with the best approach, and there isn't really one size that's going to fit every project. It depends on the project, how much content you have, as to which approach you'll want to do, but just being aware of these different patterns is going to help you to make a decision on what you should actually do when you create your design.